As you listen to me, you can begin to relax, and as you begin to relax, so you can start the process of falling asleep comfortably. And while you begin to drift off asleep comfortably, I'll continue talking to you in the background. And as I talk to you in the background, you don't have to pay any attention. You can just let yourself drift off asleep. And with your eyes closed, listening to me, beginning to relax deeply. You can imagine what it's like to be born a tree, and you start life 1,000 years ago, and you start off just as like a tiny twig sticking out the ground, with a couple of leaves on top of your head. And it's interesting, life on these timescales, what it is that you've seen, what you've witnessed and experienced, changing events over time. And as you begin to grow, you sway in the wind, you experience the seasons, you experience spring heading into summer, with the explosion of colour and growth and warmth and light. As this moves into autumn, and the colours turn rusty, and the temperature cools, and perhaps there's a little bit more wind, and the days are shorter, and the sun never rises quite so high above the horizon, and the growth of other plants and grass slows down as the seasons move on to winter, and you feel packed comfortably in ice, in snow, with just a white glow around you, and the crunching sound of people and animals walking in the snow, trees being bare of their leaves, waiting for the spring. And then as the snow melts and spring arrives, and you notice those frosty mornings in early spring, where cobwebs take on a beautiful shimmering look across fields of grass, as the light glistens on water droplets, and the weather warms up quickly, creating a mist above the fields, and a beautiful sunrise in the distance. And you experience these seasons year after year, just like clockwork, where spring leads to summer, leads to autumn, leads to winter, leads back to spring. You see the increase in animals, then the decrease in animals, the increase in other plant life, and the decrease in other plant life. The sun rising higher in the sky, and then rising lower in the sky. Days getting longer, and then days getting shorter. While you continue to grow taller, and you start off growing flexibly in the wind, and gradually as you grow taller, so you begin to become more sturdy. And while you become more sturdy, you become better able at weathering harsh weather. And it's nice to remain flexible as well. And you see that young couple sitting beneath your leaves when you're just a young tree. They carve their name into the bark and a love heart. They gaze out over the meadows, over to a small town with a church in the distance. And you can be aware of that church bell ringing, and that couple enjoying sitting in the shade of your leaves as they rustle and move in a breeze. And throughout the year that couple comes back to sit beneath your leaves. And they climb up into your branches and they sit on the branches. And they chat and just enjoy each other's company. And year after year they return. And you notice them getting older gradually. Year after year they return. And after a few years, different couples start coming along, sitting in the shade of your leaves, starting their relationships, enjoying their time with you here, gazing out over that old English town over there, listening to the church bells in the distance. As you continue to grow taller and wider and get a more full head of leaves, and you weather harsh storms that roll in from time to time, and incredibly warm weather and heavy rains and very dry weather, and you experience all sorts of weather, and yet you just stand strong, stand firm, just watching as time goes by. And as years turn into decades and decades begin to turn into centuries, you notice how people change You notice how their clothing changes, the houses they're living in change, the number of people changes. You notice so much history. And as the centuries move on, so you relax deeper and deeper into where you are, stretching out those roots deeper and deeper, wider and wider, growing those leaves more fully, being aware of different buildings going up, of changes from medieval times to industrial times to Victorian dress, noticing when the people went through a Renaissance time, and artists would come and sit in the shade of your leaves and would paint the most beautiful pictures of the scene before them. And you'd find your mind wandering, drifting and wandering, because you're only able to be stuck in this one place. So although you get to see time passing by, you get to see painters, and then more recently photographers, you get to see how towns and cities change. You get to see how the weather changes month after month. You get to have lovers sitting under your leaves. You get to have people stealing a kiss. You get to share in secrets and wonder and intrigue. But you always wonder what it would be like to move, what it would be like to be somewhere else, to be able to move and have a different perspective, to be able to fulfill your curiosity. And you find your mind wandering and imagining what it would be like to drift and float through space and time, drifting and floating through space and time, comfortably into another location, seeing from another location, and you wonder what that'll be like. And you enjoy some time imagining what it'll be like to be in a different location, what insights you'll gain, what you'll learn there. You wonder what it would be like to have the ability to move from your spot, what it would be like to be one of these people who you've seen. And you enjoy being a tree, growing taller and wiser with each passing year. And then when the time is right, you find yourself as a tree, almost drifting into a hibernation. as one winter approaches. Just conserving energy and drifting comfortably inside, like you've done hundreds of times before over the years, drifting inside, creating an inner world, a dream, a drifting in a dream, where you can drift inside and enjoy dreaming and drifting and sleeping for a while, knowing you'll awaken again in the spring.